Okay, now what we're going to do, now that I have my secondary mix, we are going to get ready to hang this in the patient's room. The first thing I'm going to need to do is calculate a drip rate. Because it's going to be a manual IV drip and it's not going to be hooked to a pump, I need to know how fast I need to put the medication in. So the formula we're going to use for that is the volume over times the constant. Now the constant, the only place we can get that is off of our secondary tubing. And it will say on here, and in this case, this one says 15 drops per milliliter. So you need this number, so don't throw your tubing bag away until you write this number down. This is the only way you can calculate a drip rate. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is calculate that volume. Is how much volume? It's a 50 milliliter bag, and just for the purposes of this, we're going to count it as 50. We're not going to add in that additional 2.5 because we're going to drip it all in anyway. So we're going to say 50 just for the ease of calculation over the doctor's order, which was 20 minutes, and then it's going to be times the constant, which is 15 drops per milliliter. When I do that math, I end up with 37.5 drops per minute. And once I do that, I really don't want to stand there and count that for a whole minute. So I'm going to divide that by 4. And if I do that, that means I can count it for 15 seconds. If I divide 37.5 by 4, I come up with 9.375. So I'm just going to round that to 9. So when I get ready to set this, I'm going to set it at 9 drops in every 15 seconds. And that should come out to equal my fluid going in over 20 minutes. So now what I'm going to need to do is go ahead and open my tubing. And again, you want to keep the tubing sterile. You don't want to touch either end. And on this, the first thing you want to do with your tubing is to make sure that you close your roller clamp. Very important. I always kind of push mine up toward the top, but close the roller clamp, because if you leave this open and you spike your bag, you are going to lose all of your medication. So again, close your roller clamp. That's the first thing you do once you open your secondary tubing. There's also a little thing in here that's going to look like this. You're going to need that when you go in the room as well. Okay, so I'm going to get this stuff out of the way. Now I'm ready to spike my bag. When I spike my bag, here again, you've got your 2 ports. Remember, we added stuff here. On this one, I'm going to open this, and it's going to just be an open hole. Do not touch it. It's sterile. Unspike your spike, open it, and remember, it's sterile, so don't touch anything there. Again, put the spike into the opening, twist and push really hard until you have it spiked. And again, you can flip it upright, and you can go ahead and fill this chamber if you want to. So now we are ready to walk this down to the patient's room, and we are here. Patient has their primary IV running, and I need to hook up my secondary bag to that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this port, and you want to make sure that you have the port above their roller clamp. So go ahead if you want to and close off the roller clamp if their IV's running, but get the port above the roller clamp, otherwise this won't work. So I'm going to clean this port really well, round and around, back and forth, clean the port, and then I'm going to attach my secondary tubing. Do not touch either one of these. Remember, this is sterile. You're simply going to push this on and screw it down. Okay? So now this is attached to this. Both of my roller clamps are closed. And then what I'm going to do with this is I want this medication to run in, which is my secondary. So I want it to be taller than my primary, because whatever's higher is going to run faster. So I'm going to go ahead and hang this roller clamp. Hang this bag clamp. I call it a roller clamp. I'm going to hang it lower than my secondary. And these don't work too well on some of these. But this needs to drop lower. So once I have that lower, what I need now is I have air in this tubing. I need to get the air out of this tubing, and the way to do that is what we call back prime. So in order to back prime, I'm going to open my secondary roller clamp, and if you'll notice, air bubbles start to push in there because my primary is slowly filling up my secondary line. So if it doesn't fill it completely, gently just squeeze this bag and it'll fill it completely. Trouble Okay, so check your line. This roller, I still have a little bit of air right here, if you can see. So I'm going to gently squeeze it just a little bit more. I want all the air out of my line. No air here, no air all the way through. I've just back primed it. I haven't lost one drop of my medication. It's all there. So now I have this roller clamp completely open, which is my secondary, and I'm ready to regulate my drip rate. I'm going to watch my secondary chamber, not my primary. I want to watch my secondary, and I'm going to use my watch and time it. I'm going to count this for 15 seconds, and I'm going to try to get exactly 9 drops in 15 seconds. So the way I do that is I'm going to open my primary roller clamp really slowly until I see this start to drip. Okay, so after it starts to drip, I'm going to count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's going to kind of fast. So I'm going to slow that down just a little bit. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Still just a little bit fast. Okay, so I'll regulate just a little bit more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's running at about 9 drops for 15 seconds, which is going to be about 37 drops per minute, which is going to end up delivering this medication, the whole 50 milliliters, in about 20 minutes.